Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I appreciate the comments of everyone that spoke, and I appreciate the comments of those even in opposition. Much of what they have said I would be in total agreement with, and I respect their positions, and I respect the positions they have. Everyone's district is different. Everyone votes their district. I get that. But I want to say what this bill is not about. This bill is not immigration reform. It's not comprehensive immigration reform. This bill, as much as I'd like to talk about SB4, is not about SB4 either. This bill is the strongest border security bill, indirectly, that we could have this session. This bill is the strongest law enforcement bill that we can have this session. I've said that consistently for months, and I mean that because I understand what this means. I understand what is necessary. This bill doesn't target anyone except people that are accused of breaking the law and have federal warrants existing against them that are already incarcerated.
Mr. Speaker.
On other charges.
Ms. Zwiener, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for
In just a
some
moment,
questions?
and I won't be long. So that's what this bill does. This bill is about public safety. This bill addresses problems with some counties that are not checking, or some that don't have the help and the resources that we're providing them in this bill to check and do these things. Smaller counties, but also larger counties. It helps everyone. The funding is there, the reimbursement grant is there, the simplicity of participating in the warrant service model is there. That's all we're asking, is for them at a minimal level to do what is necessary to identify people that they already have in jail and report that to ICE. And that's what we should be doing to cooperate with our federal partners to make sure that Texas is safe. These concerns have been raised about how dangerous our communities are. Our communities are more dangerous if we don't do this and we don't identify these folks and we look with a blind eye toward what's going on and we let them out into our communities and they reoffend and they do things, sometimes heinous crimes. And we can't have that. That's why this bill is so important. And before I run out of time, again, I want to thank those that I've worked with. I appreciate been a great friend with everyone involved, but Representative Louderback has done a fantastic job and knows this very well. But I appreciate also even some of those that we worked with that have been critical of what we had and try to make it better. And if anyone knows that I have a bill anytime, I want to have the best bill that we can, and I will listen, and I have listened, and we have listened, and it may not be the perfect bill. It may not be the perfect bill for everyone in this room, but I think that we have a good bill, and I think we have something that would.
Will the gentleman yield for
In
questions
just
before he runs out of time?
I'll be quick. And so again, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank them and thank Senator Schwartner for filing this, and appreciate working with him and appreciate everything. With that, yes, I would yield.
All right, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Zwiener, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for
The
questions?
gentleman yield for questions. He yields for questions.
Thank you so much, Representative Spiller. I thought you were going to get close to running out the clock on me. Representative Spiller, when we heard your version of this bill, we were in subcommittee together, correct?
Correct.
Now, so even the warrant services model will result in some counties having to keep people in jail for longer than they would otherwise, correct?
I don't believe that. They can identify those people at their intake, and as said, they wear two hats. When they're doing an intake and they book them in, all they have to do, if they're trained, can get into that system, know how to operate that, know if they have an ICE warrant, notify ICE. There's nothing that causes a delay. Under that process, there's nothing that causes anyone to stay in that jail 1 day or 1 minute longer than they otherwise should.
But there's nothing that makes ICE come get those people on the same day, correct?
No, they've got 48 hours.
So they might have to keep somebody 48 hours who might have been released same day for something, say like an unpaid parking ticket or an unpaid traffic ticket, correct?
Well, what they could do is, these people are going to be, and I don't know that they're taking people to jail for parking tickets, but
I had someone in my district go to jail
Right.
for an unpaid
Okay.
traffic ticket
All right.
and end up with an ICE hold.
But nonetheless, the bigger concern is these people that are picked up and processed and let out back into the community. And so that's what this bill is trying to address. I don't think that the problem is that they're going to be there necessarily longer. Some of these folks are going to be there anyway because if it's a more serious crime and the bond is a certain amount, they may not be able to bond out, or at least not initially.
And I agree with you on that, Representative Spiller. I think I'm thinking about these very low-level offenders arrested for something small, would have been out very soon. There are instances where the county jail is going to have to keep those folks longer.
Well,
and in addition to the reasons brought up by some of our colleagues, the other reason this concerns me is I am in a county with a Republican sheriff who does not want to use our scarce sheriff's office resources and our scarce jail resources to step in and do the federal government's job. Do you really think that my county, when we are spending over $3 million a year to ship inmates to other counties because we don't have the jailers to keep folks in Hays County, should have to pick up that tab?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I think that the people that you were talking about that would be coming in and being arrested, you have to understand, for them to apply here, they would have to have a federal existing warrant against them. So they might be there in jail for a minimal offense, but it may be a very serious warrant or a removal warrant that may be in place. But the other is,
But
I don't believe that it's going
those
to...
federal warrants are not necessarily for crimes.
They don't have to be.
They're often for immigration violations,
Right.
correct?
And that is a concern as well. Why, all those things are concerns. But you have an ICE warrant, but you may have a warrant for removal. And warrant for removal is what it sounds like. They need to be removed from our country, and there's a legal basis for why they would be, why
But
that
we
warrant
could
be
be
issued.
dealing with somebody with no violent criminal history whatsoever, no threat to the community, and my county is still going to be required to spend resources, bed space, time on keeping that person incarcerated under your bill, correct?
And my concern and what we've tried to do, therefore, because to the extent that that is possible, I'm not going to say it's not possible. I don't think it's probable, but to the extent that that is possible, that's why we have grant funding in here and we have reimbursement funding in here, and all of that is in place for your sheriff. If that's a concern, he has a recourse and an opportunity to address that.
Representative Spiller, we have law enforcement shortages across the state, and I appreciate the funding, but that doesn't solve the problem that there aren't enough people to hire to come work in the jails.
Well, that's a whole
so
different bill.
So why are we
Yeah.
redirecting our law enforcement personnel from doing the work they actually need to protect us to trying to lock up folks who may have an ICE removal due to missing a hearing
Number one,
and
these
may be
people are locked
arrested for
up.
something small and nonviolent?
Okay. Number one, these people are locked up already for a different reason. We're not locking them up under this warrant service model. No one is going out and arresting people to bring them in under the warrant service model. It doesn't work that way. It hasn't worked that way. It can't work that way. So that's not happening. So and I think when you talk about doing their job, part of their job, respectfully, is that they need to cooperate with other law enforcement agencies, and that includes our federal partners.
But why does that have to mean they have to keep somebody in jail for an extra 48 hours for something that under normal circumstances somebody would bond out under same day? And you may say improbable, but people get arrested for unpaid traffic violations. Right. They get arrested for a joint. Yeah. They get arrested for handing off a cigarette to someone who's 20 instead of 21. There are things that aren't serious dangers to our society where we want to prioritize law enforcement resources that result in arrest, correct?
And I'm just saying, if we have federal warrants existing about someone that's arrested on another completely unrelated charge, we need to know about it. Law enforcement needs to know about it. Our communities were safer because of it. We can't not do that.
But I want us to be clear, those federal warrants have nothing to do usually with dangerous activity. They have to do with immigration processes, correct?
I would respectfully disagree. Under an ICE warrant, yes. Under an order for removal, which my bill also covers, no. Those folks have done something potentially bad and may have, and we need to be able to identify those people for public safety concerns.
Potentially, but not necessarily. Some of those folks have missed hearings, correct? Can you acknowledge your bill is going to catch people who do not
My bill isn't going to catch anybody that doesn't need to be caught.
Community?
Not this bill. This bill doesn't catch anybody that doesn't need to be, that's not already caught and doesn't need to be identified. That's what this bill does.
Representative Spiller, I respectfully disagree, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.